Yes, I can help with Joshua Selman sermons. Apostle Joshua Selman is a Nigerian Christian minister, teacher, and founder of Monomania. His sermons are widely known for their depth. Beloved, every new morning is not just a change of time, it is a gift of mercy and an invitation to alignment. The morning is the womb of the day. Whatever you allow to enter that womb determines what the day will give birth to. This is why the first voice your spirit should recognize each morning must not be fear, news, or pressure, but God. The morning sets the spiritual tone for the entire day, and this truth is both simple and profound. Every day is a blank canvas, but it is not neutral. The moment you wake up, forces are already contending for your attention, your emotions, and your decisions. If you do not intentionally establish the atmosphere of your day, it will be shaped by pressure, urgency, and external demands. This is why the first moments of the morning are so powerful. They carry the ability to define everything that follows. In the realm of the spirit, beginnings matter greatly. The way a thing starts often determines how it ends. When you wake up and immediately engage God in prayer, you are declaring that your day will not be governed by chance, emotions, or circumstances. You are positioning God as the first voice, the first influence, and the first authority over your life for that day. This act alone brings order, because wherever God is acknowledged, confusion loses its hold. The morning is also the time when your spirit is most receptive. Unlike later in the day, your mind is not yet crowded with conversations, responsibilities, or worries. In this quiet state, spiritual sensitivity is heightened. When you pray at this time, your spirit is able to perceive, receive, and respond more clearly. This is why many divine instructions, warnings, and confirmations are best received early in the day. A heart that is still is a heart that can hear. Setting the spiritual tone in the morning through prayer helps you respond rightly to situations instead of reacting emotionally. Many people regret words they spoke or decisions they made because they faced pressure without spiritual preparation. Prayer does not remove challenges, but it equips you with the grace to handle them. When your day is birthed in prayer, you carry a calm assurance that steadies you even when things do not go as planned. Furthermore, the morning is the gateway of influence. Whatever gains access first often has the greatest impact. If anxiety, fear, or negative information is the first thing you allow into your heart, it will color your thoughts and actions throughout the day. But when prayer comes first, peace becomes the foundation. From that place of peace, you are able to think clearly, speak wisely, and act intentionally. Prayer in the morning also aligns your will with divine purpose. Many struggles in life are not because of a lack of effort, but because of misalignment. When you pray, you surrender your plans and expectations before God and allow Him to reorder them. This alignment saves you from wasted energy and unnecessary battles. You begin the day walking in agreement with heaven, and that agreement produces ease where others experience strain. As the spiritual tone is set in the morning, it continues to echo throughout the day. Even when you are busy, the residue of that early encounter remains with you. It influences your attitude, guards your emotions, and strengthens your resolve. You may not always remember every word you prayed, but you will see the effect in how you handle people, decisions, and challenges. Ultimately, starting your morning with prayer is an act of wisdom and humility. It is the acknowledgement that life is spiritual before it is physical, and that success is sustained by divine involvement. When the morning is dedicated to God, the day becomes a platform for His guidance, protection, and favor. This is how ordinary days are transformed into ordered days, and how lives grow steadily in strength and stability. Prayer is a spiritual protocol, not a religious habit, and understanding this distinction changes the way a believer approaches God. A habit can be performed mechanically, without thought, passion, or expectation. A protocol, however, is a deliberate procedure that must be honored to gain access, authority, or results. When prayer is reduced to a habit, it becomes empty words repeated out of obligation. But when prayer is understood as a protocol, it is approached with reverence, intentionality, and spiritual awareness. In the spirit realm, nothing operates randomly. Access, influence, and outcomes are governed by order. Prayer is one of the primary systems God has established for men to engage heaven and enforce divine realities on earth. It is not designed to impress God or inform him of what he already knows. Rather, it is the legal framework through which human beings invite God's will into their daily affairs. When prayer is ignored, people often struggle not because God is absent, but because the protocol for his involvement has been bypassed. Seeing prayer as a protocol also restores responsibility to the believer. Many people wait passively for God to act, assuming that sovereignty means automatic intervention. Yet, divine wisdom reveals that God responds to engagement. Prayer is that engagement. It is the authorized way to make petitions, receive instructions, and release power. When this understanding is lost, people pray casually and then wonder why their lives lack consistency and results. A religious habit focuses on timing and routine, but a spiritual protocol focuses on posture and alignment. You can pray at the right time with the wrong heart and still miss the purpose of prayer. Protocol demands humility, faith, and obedience. It requires you to come with the understanding that you are standing before a king, not merely reciting words. This awareness cultivates sincerity and depth, transforming prayer from a duty into an encounter. When prayer is treated as protocol, it also shapes discipline. You begin to realize that certain outcomes cannot be accessed without prayer. Strength, wisdom, clarity, protection, and direction are not automatic benefits. They are resources dispensed in response to spiritual engagement. This understanding produces consistency, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. You pray because you know that without it, you are exposed and underprepared. Another powerful implication of prayer as a protocol is authority. In prayer, believers are not begging from a position of inferiority. They are enforcing what has been provided through divine provision. Protocol gives legitimacy. Just as legal systems require proper procedures to activate rights, prayer activates spiritual rights. When you pray with understanding, you speak with confidence, not desperation, because you know you are operating within divine order. Prayer as a protocol also demands sensitivity to instruction. Protocols must be followed correctly. This means learning to listen as much as you speak. Many people talk in prayer but never wait for direction. Yet prayer is a dialogue. When you honor the protocol, you give room for correction, guidance, and adjustment. This is how maturity is formed and errors are minimized. Ultimately, when prayer is no longer treated as a mere habit, it becomes a lifestyle of alignment and authority. It stops being something you do occasionally and becomes the system by which you live. You no longer pray only when things go wrong. You pray because you understand that life functions best when heaven is constantly consulted. This perspective transforms prayer into a powerful, consistent, and fruitful spiritual practice. Morning prayer releases divine strength and renewal, a kind of strength that goes beyond physical energy or emotional motivation. There is a level of weariness that sleep alone cannot fix. Many people wake up rested in body yet heavy in spirit, already feeling overwhelmed by the demands of the day. This is because the challenges ahead are not merely physical, they are spiritual and mental. Morning prayer becomes the channel through which God supplies the strength required to face the day effectively. Strength in the spiritual sense is not just the ability to work harder, but the capacity to remain steady, focused, and faithful under pressure. When you pray in the morning, you are not merely asking God to help you survive the day. You are positioning yourself to receive renewed inner capacity. This renewal affects your patience, your endurance, and your emotional stability. Situations that would normally irritate or discourage you lose their power because you are carrying strength that did not originate from you. Renewal through prayer also restores perspective. Many people become exhausted not because they are doing too much, but because they are seeing things wrongly. Anxiety, fear, and discouragement often come from focusing on limitations instead of possibilities. In the place of prayer, God recalibrates your vision. You begin to see challenges as manageable and obstacles as temporary. This shift in perspective alone can renew strength because clarity brings confidence. Morning prayer is especially powerful because it precedes exertion. It is easier to receive strength before you are drained than to seek it after you are exhausted. When you wait until the day has already overwhelmed you, prayer becomes an emergency response. But when you begin with prayer, you are proactively storing strength. This stored spiritual energy sustains you through moments when you cannot stop to pray again. Another dimension of renewal in morning prayer is emotional healing. Unresolved emotions from previous days, disappointments, frustrations, or silent battles often carry over into the next day. Prayer allows God to cleanse these burdens before they harden into bitterness or fatigue. As you speak honestly before God, He replaces heaviness with peace. This emotional renewal is subtle, yet it greatly affects how you relate with people and handle responsibilities. Divine strength also manifests as courage. Many people know what they should do, but lack the boldness to do it. Morning prayer infuses courage to confront difficult conversations, make necessary decisions, and stand firm in integrity. This courage is not aggression, it is quiet confidence rooted in divine backing. When you know you have prayed, fear loses its dominance and obedience becomes easier. Renewal in prayer also includes spiritual alertness. The day is filled with distractions and subtle compromises. Without spiritual sensitivity, it is easy to drift into error or waste time on unproductive pursuits. Morning prayer sharpens discernment. You become more aware of what deserves your attention and what should be avoided. This alertness preserves strength because many people are drained by battles they were never meant to fight. Ultimately, the strength released in morning prayer is sustaining strength. It may not always feel dramatic, but it is consistent. It carries you through long days, difficult seasons, and repeated responsibilities without burnout. This is the strength that allows you to remain joyful, disciplined, and focused even when results are delayed. When you make morning prayer a priority, you are choosing to draw from an eternal source rather than relying on temporary energy. Each day becomes an exchange, your weakness for His strength, your uncertainty for His assurance. Over time, this daily renewal builds resilience, depth, and spiritual stamina that cannot be produced by human effort alone. Direction and clarity are accessed early through prayer, and this is one of the greatest advantages of beginning the day in God's presence. Many mistakes in life are not the result of bad intentions, but of unclear direction. People often move sincerely yet wrongly because they act without light. Prayer, especially in the morning, is the divine system through which clarity is released before decisions are made and steps are taken. The early hours of the day carry a unique grace for guidance. At this time, the heart is less crowded and the mind is less noisy. When you present your plans, thoughts, and concerns before God in the morning, you are giving Him the opportunity to speak into your day before your actions become fixed. This prevents unnecessary detours, delays, and regrets. One clear instruction received early can save you from a chain of errors later. Clarity in prayer does not always come as an audible voice. Often it comes as a settled conviction, an inner witness, or a sudden understanding. You may begin prayer confused, but you rise with peace. That peace is a signal of alignment. It tells you that even if you do not know everything, you know enough to take the next step confidently. This is how faith operates, not by full disclosure, but by sufficient light. Morning prayer also helps you prioritize correctly. Many people are busy but not productive. They spend their strength on urgent matters while neglecting what is truly important. In prayer, God reorders your priorities. Certain things that seemed critical lose their urgency, while others that appeared small are revealed to be significant. This divine reordering saves time, energy, and focus throughout the day. Another dimension of direction received in prayer is discernment concerning people. Relationships play a major role in destiny, and not everyone who means well is meant to walk with you in every season. In prayer, God can alert you to be cautious, patient, or open. These impressions may not always come with explanations, but obedience to them protects you from unnecessary conflict and disappointment. Many issues people face could have been avoided if they had listened to the gentle warnings received in prayer. Clarity through prayer also affects decision making. Decisions made under pressure are often flawed, but decisions made in the presence of God carry wisdom. When you pray in the morning, you submit your choices to divine scrutiny. You begin to see beyond immediate benefits and consider long-term consequences. This perspective leads to choices that are not just convenient, but correct. Morning prayer further provides clarity in moments of uncertainty. There are seasons when answers are not immediately available, and the temptation is to rush or force outcomes. Prayer teaches patience. It reminds you that waiting is also a form of movement when directed by God. In such moments, clarity may come as an instruction to pause rather than proceed. This restraint is as powerful as action because it prevents premature decisions. Over time, consistent morning prayer sharpens spiritual sensitivity. You become better at recognizing God's leading throughout the day because you started the day listening. This sensitivity allows you to adjust quickly when circumstances change. Instead of being rigid, you remain responsive. This flexibility, rooted in prayer, is a sign of spiritual maturity. Ultimately, accessing direction and clarity early through prayer is an act of wisdom. It acknowledges that human understanding is limited and that divine insight is necessary for accurate navigation. When your day begins with prayer, you do not walk blindly, you walk guided. Even when challenges arise, you face them with confidence, knowing that your steps were ordered before you took them. Prayer gives authority to legislate over the unseen realm. And this truth reveals that prayer is far more than a personal devotion, it is a spiritual responsibility. Life is influenced not only by visible actions, but by invisible forces. Many outcomes are decided long before they appear in the physical, and prayer is the means by which a believer engages that unseen realm with authority rather than fear. When you pray, you are not speaking into emptiness. You are addressing a realm that responds to spiritual laws. Authority in prayer does not come from volume. emotion, or length, but from position. When a person prays in alignment with God's will, they speak from a place of divine authorization. This is why prayer is described as legislation. To legislate is to establish, permit, or forbid. In prayer, you permit what aligns with God's purpose and forbid what contradicts it. This understanding transforms prayer from pleading into enforcement. The unseen realm is already active. Spiritual influences, both positive and negative, are constantly seeking expression in the natural world. If a believer is passive, these influences operate unchecked. Prayer is how you assert spiritual boundaries. When you pray in the morning, you are declaring that certain things are not allowed access to your day, your mind, your family, and your assignments. This is not superstition, it is spiritual governance. Morning prayer is particularly significant because it addresses the unseen before events unfold. Rather than reacting to problems, you are preemptively establishing divine order. You are saying that your day will operate under heavenly jurisdiction. This proactive engagement saves you from many battles that never manifest because they were dealt with before they had a chance to mature. Legislative prayer also involves speaking words with understanding. Words are powerful, especially when spoken from a place of authority. In prayer, you align your words with divine truth, and those words carry weight in the spirit realm. Declarations made in prayer shape atmospheres, influence outcomes, and dismantle opposition. This is why careless speech weakens authority, while intentional prayer strengthens it. Another aspect of authority in prayer is resistance. Not everything that happens is meant to be accepted. Some situations persist because they have never been challenged spiritually. Prayer is how you resist what is contrary to God's purpose. This resistance is not aggressive, it is lawful. You are standing on divine permission, enforcing what has already been established in the spiritual order. Prayer also trains discernment in legislation. Not every issue requires the same response. Some situations require endurance, others require confrontation, and some require silence. In prayer, God reveals how to engage each matter correctly. This prevents unnecessary spiritual conflict and ensures that authority is exercised wisely, not recklessly. As believers grow in their understanding of prayer as legislation, fear diminishes. You no longer feel helpless in the face of uncertainty or opposition. You understand that you have been given a voice that carries influence beyond the physical realm. This confidence is not arrogance, it is responsibility. Authority is given not for self-exaltation, but for stewardship. Ultimately, prayer as legislative authority establishes peace. When divine order is enforced in the unseen realm, the visible realm gradually aligns. Though results may not always be immediate, they are inevitable when prayer is consistent and aligned. By praying, especially in the morning, you take your place as a steward of spiritual territory, ensuring that your life and day reflect the will and order of heaven. Intimacy with God is built through consistent morning prayer. And this intimacy is the foundation of a strong and stable spiritual life. Many people desire the power of God, the guidance of God, or the favor of God, but overlook the relationship that sustains all of these. Intimacy is not formed in moments of crisis. It is cultivated in moments of consistency. Morning prayer provides a quiet, undistracted space where this relationship can grow naturally and deeply. Intimacy begins with availability. When you choose to seek God early in the day, you are offering Him your first attention, not your leftovers. This communicates value. Relationships thrive on priority, and the same principle applies spiritually. Giving God the first moments of your day creates a rhythm of closeness that cannot be replaced by occasional or hurried prayers. Over time, this priority strengthens your awareness of His presence. Consistent morning prayer also deepens familiarity with God's voice. Just as regular conversations help you recognize the tone and intention of a loved one, daily time with God sharpens spiritual sensitivity. You begin to discern when He is guiding, cautioning, or comforting you. This familiarity reduces confusion and uncertainty because you are not constantly guessing His will. You are learning His ways. Intimacy with God is not built only through speaking, but through listening. Morning prayer provides the space to be still. In that stillness, God shapes your heart more than your circumstances. He reveals areas that need growth, correction, or surrender. This process is gentle but transformative. The more you allow God access to your inner life, the more authentic your relationship becomes. Through intimacy, your desires begin to change. Many frustrations in prayer come from asking for things that do not align with divine purpose. As intimacy grows, selfish ambitions lose their grip and divine priorities become attractive. You begin to want what God wants, not out of obligation, but out of shared vision. This alignment brings deep satisfaction even before answers manifest. Morning prayer also strengthens trust. When you regularly encounter God in a peaceful setting, you learn to rely on His character, not just His actions. Trust grows as you remember past encounters, answered prayers, and quiet assurances. This trust becomes an anchor during difficult seasons, allowing you to remain steady when outcomes are delayed or unclear. Another fruit of intimacy is obedience. Obedience becomes easier when it flows from relationship rather than fear. When you know God personally, His instructions are received with confidence, not resistance. Morning prayer nurtures this obedience because it keeps your heart tender. A tender heart responds quickly and joyfully to divine leading. Intimacy also produces transformation. The more time you spend in God's presence, the more you reflect His nature. Patience, humility, love, and wisdom develop naturally. These qualities cannot be manufactured through effort alone. They are imparted through fellowship. Morning prayer becomes a place of quiet shaping where character is formed before challenges arise. Ultimately, consistent morning prayer builds a relationship that sustains every other aspect of spiritual life. It is in intimacy that strength is renewed, direction is clarified, and authority is exercised responsibly. When intimacy is present, prayer is no longer a task, it becomes a meeting. This is how a believer moves from knowing about God to truly knowing Him. How you start your day determines how you experience it, because beginnings carry power and direction. The first moments of the morning are not ordinary, they are foundational. Just as the foundation of a building determines its stability, the way a day is started determines its emotional, spiritual, and mental flow. When the day begins without intention, it is easily controlled by pressure, distractions, and unexpected events. But when it begins with purpose, the day follows a divine order. Starting the day rightly is an act of wisdom. It acknowledges that life does not respond merely to effort, but to alignment. Many people work hard yet feel constantly behind because their days are reactive rather than directed. When you begin the day in prayer, you are not just talking to God. You are setting a framework within which everything else must operate. This framework brings calm to your decisions and stability to your emotions. The morning establishes your inner posture. If you wake up rushed, anxious, or distracted, that posture often follows you throughout the day. But when the day starts in stillness and prayer, your heart is anchored. This anchoring allows you to face unexpected challenges without losing balance. You may encounter pressure, but you will not be pressured. You may face delays, but you will not be frustrated easily. This inner stability is the fruit of a well-started day. How the day is started also influences your thought patterns. The mind tends to dwell on whatever it is first exposed to. If the first exposure is worry, negativity, or overwhelming information, the mind carries that tone forward. Prayer, however, introduces peace, hope, and clarity. From that place, your thinking becomes more constructive. You begin to approach tasks and people with intentionality rather than impulse. A well-started day also affects your interactions with others. Words spoken in haste or irritation often come from unguarded mornings. When prayer shapes the beginning of the day, it softens your responses and sharpens your discernment. You become more patient, more understanding, and more restrained. This does not mean you avoid difficult conversations. It means you handle them with wisdom and grace. Starting the day with prayer also prepares you for spiritual resistance. Not every challenge is visible, and not every opposition is obvious. A prayerful beginning equips you to recognize and respond to subtle distractions, temptations, and compromises. Instead of being caught off guard, you remain alert. This alertness preserves your focus and protects your values throughout the day. Consistency in starting the day creates long-term transformation. One good morning may bless a day, but many good mornings shape a life. Over time, your habits, reactions, and decisions reflect the order you establish daily. This is how discipline is formed, not through force, but through repetition. Prayer becomes the compass that continually realigns you, even when days are demanding. Starting the day rightly also strengthens faith. When you repeatedly commit your day to God and see His guidance unfold, confidence grows. You learn to trust that He is involved in the details, not just the major events. This trust reduces anxiety about the future because you know that each day will be sustained as it is surrendered. Ultimately, how you start your day determines how you experience it, because the beginning defines the atmosphere. When prayer comes first, peace follows. When alignment comes first, progress follows. When God is acknowledged at the start, His influence is evident throughout. This is the quiet power of a well-started day, a day ordered, guarded, and enriched by divine presence.